What is going on, everybody? It is Lineman Life Live. What is up? I'm your observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri. It's June 2nd. Yesterday, I had another little mishap with the tire. Damn it. And that just threw off my entire day. Had to tow the car. Things just were a little tight, so we didn't get one in yesterday, but fear not, we stay on the daily. Hope everyone's doing well out there today. Got a little bit to talk about for sure. Mainly, in starting this stream, wanted to talk about this NFL race norming. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, well, got a little presentation for you. Going to show you a little video that takes us through exactly what race norming is. Somebody saying my volume's a little low. Well, probably turn up your volume because I'm turned up over here, son. Yes, indeed. Anyways, hope everyone's doing great. We are going to take a look into this NFL race norming because I think it's important that people know that the NFL has been doing this for quite a while now. The NFL has been using a system that really does a great disservice to the players who spent years playing in the NFL without being aware of the not even the potential, the inevitable side effects of the sport, which come in the way of countless joint and muscle injuries, as well as some brain damage that will eventually and inevitably affect the player's life. There is no other way around this. Like, there is no other explanation, or rather there is no other eventuality for people who play football. It's all just dependent on the varying degree in which you will deal with certain symptoms. It is a matter of time for everyone who has played football at any extended length of time. I think that's just a fact of the matter. If you've been playing football since you were a Pop Warner cat, then it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. If you played football in middle school, probably sooner rather than later. If you started playing in high school, you might have pushed it off a decade or so. But it doesn't really matter. The eventual denigration of your or degradation of your noggin, your noodle, is going to inevitably change your life and change the way that you are able to live, change your quality of life, and eventually it'll kill you. It's a degenerative brain disease. But let's take a look at this video. And this didn't get a whole lot of traction like I thought it would when it actually hit the airwaves. It didn't get a lot of traction, and there are some advocacy groups that have been pushing on this entire topic of race norming with the NFL. They took it to court. They actually lost in court multiple times. With a civil lawsuit that basically laid out that the NFL was actually discriminating against black players by setting the bar much higher for the black players to be able to get approved for their settlement in the concussion settlement as compared to their white counterparts, both of whom played the same sport, both of whom actually sustained the same amount of damage, both of whom actually, did, lay the path for the NFL to be what it is today, to be the brand that it is today, the brand that makes $31+ billion a year. That's what it cost, for these men. It cost them a lot of their normal function. But let's take a look at this video. it really does kind of get into the meat of the situation. And I'll talk a little bit about it because I have a little bit of experience, maybe not me specifically, but I do know former teammates who have been trying for years to get not only their concussion settlement benefits, but also their line of duty benefits in the NFL, which are also part of a package that is my volume really that low? Can you guys not hear me? Let me see. Hold on. Can y'all hear me better now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Well, I'm going to assume you guys can hear me a little bit better. Okay, cool. Y'all can hear me better. Sweet. All right. So, we'll go through this. We'll go through this video. Just give me 1 second to get it queued up here because I did not set my Chrome. All right. Let's take a look at this video. It gives us more information that kind of lays out this entire race norming situation.
Former defensive lineman Kevin Henry played 8 seasons for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Stop by Kevin Henry.
Now, he says he's battling memory loss, headaches, depression, and bouts of anger. All symptoms of what he suspects are the long-term effects of the head injuries he sustained on the field.
Whew. Head on. He ain't lying. Head on.
Football doesn't give you an expiration date. You just expire. I've had 10 concussions or more. I've had at least 17 surgeries. 17. And I'm still getting them.
In 2017, a neurologist determined that Henry was suffering from a cognitive decline, consistent with mild dementia. So Henry submitted a claim to the landmark 2013 NFL Concussion Settlement Program, which paid eligible former players suffering from the effects of head injuries.
What was the result of the claim you filed?
I was denied. And we're asked to function in our daily lives like normal human beings.
In its
And, just kind of piggybacking that entire scenario here is that, okay, so there's a process you go through. Once you, and this kind of started when they had the settlement for the NFL concussion situation. They had a process that you have to go through. You have to go through a process where you go and see different, they're supposed to be third party doctors who look at you. You go through a battery of tests and they try to basically decide what level of cognitive alteration that you have now and where it could go to. And for a lot of guys, being in getting into the concussion settlement program is actually something that is set set to the time when you played football. So they actually set a deadline that if you hadn't played between, or if you played between this date and that date, then you weren't you were eligible. But if you played after a certain date, you weren't eligible. So basically, players who are playing now in the NFL are not eligible to be a part of this situation with concussions, with the concussion settlement after they retire, which really doesn't make much sense because they're all still playing football. They're all still getting hits. You've seen a spike in concussions per year in the NFL since like 2017, 2016. There's been a spike. So players are actually getting hit harder, getting hit and are being affected more quickly, it's being reported more in football now as compared to back then. Now, I know back then, for me at least, I know a lot of times, used to see a player get hurt, get a concussion. I mean, this was back when I used to watch football on TV. you see a guy get a concussion, and a concussion usually was a week, and then they're back. That was always kind of the norm. 7 days, they miss a game, and they come back. I used to always see these quarterbacks in the 90s who would get hit. They'd get a concussion, like Troy Aikman. You touch Troy Aikman, he's got a concussion. Steve Young was one of the toughest quarterbacks to play in the NFL. My favorite quarterback, actually. And even he started becoming highly susceptible and started having concussions. I think we all remember the Monday night game when he got knocked unconscious against the Arizona Cardinals. And he was laid out on the field for maybe 10 minutes. They went to commercial break. He was out cold on the field. They had a zoomed in shot of Steve Young's face in his face mask, eyes shut, and he's just laying there. He looked like he was dead. Well, he was out for a week, and he came back the next, missed one game and came back. It's been right in front of our faces for the very longest time as far as the football world and as far as the powers in the football world are concerned. It's been right there in our face that, you can't think that the human brain is going to be able to take the kind of punishment that it takes when you collide at at the speed of two cars running into each other at 25, 30 miles an hour every single play, 60 plays a game. Then you count the practices. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of plays in practice. These are things that they all count. Every head knock, it counts. The subconcussive hits do more damage than the actual obliterations that knock people out. So over time, if you pay attention to the different symptoms that a lot of players have, I've had some of them before. I felt like I've had them. I've had little mood swings where I'm what the fuck? Mad for 2 days. I'm come on. But these are things that every player is going to be affected by in the NFL. So when you get into this process, for me, I'm actually not allowed to go for a concussion settlement. I'm not allowed to because I played in the year, I played past July 14th or July 19th, 2014, I think it was. Because I signed with the Cowboys and I was with the Cowboys in the preseason. And because I was with the Cowboys, I'm not allowed to take part in the concussion settlement. So I can't get a concussion settlement. Does that make any sense? Doesn't. But this is how the NFL works.
Of Henry's claim, the claims administrator questioned whether his performance on the test was valid and asserted that the doctor used inappropriate norms. 2 years later, Henry went in for another evaluation with a neuropsychologist. Now, this clinician used an NFL-recommended formula that took into account age, gender, education, and race, and concluded that Henry did not qualify for compensation.
How did you react when you learned that there was a different standard being used for black players to get benefits as compared to white players?
I felt so betrayed, and I still feel that way. Two different systems? How can that be okay? Why should that be okay?
It's a controversial practice commonly known as race norming. In medicine, it's supposed to help doctors make better diagnoses by using race to make assumptions about a patient's background. But critics say it is not an accurate tool and has no place in the settlement program.
Well, the effect of using this race norm for the NFL is that it drastically limits the amount of damages they're going to have to pay out. It's almost the classic definition of racial discrimination, using race as a basis of denying benefits to a disadvantaged or subordinated group because of race.
And I think that's another, these are dead on points. And we're not going to watch the whole video here, but you gotta understand some of the basics that go along with this. The NFL is trying anything it can not to pay money out. They don't want to pay money. And let's be real. I think the concussion settlement ended up being it was supposed to be for $1 billion, but it ended up being $750 million, I think it was, that they ended up settling. So it's they've already made their money back 30 times over, for 10 years. since they decided on this concussion settlement thing. So there's no real reason. There's no real reason that they should be using these type of techniques to actually, decide to not pay people for the same actual work. Like they're paying in a different way for one side as they are to the other side for the same exact work that both sides have done. Now, what's the key factor in even that is that, even more so than that, is that the NFL is what? 70% African American. So you have 70% black people, 70% of your players in the NFL are black. 100% of them are going to deal with these concussion issues, and if you're going to have to pay out money for these litany of people who played in the past, where that percentage of African American athletes is still at 70+%, well, you're going to pay less if you use race norming strategies to try and lock guys out from getting paid money. So how is that, really any fair? Let's see here. Kev B. Here of Joe Namath's hyperbaric oxygen therapy. He claims excellent results. Hyperbaric chambers are good for recovery during, your football life. And I have a hyperbaric chamber here in the house that I use, sparingly, but I used it way more when I was playing. I used it every week. I jump in the hyperbaric chamber after a game. After every game, I jump in it. And on Friday afternoons, I jump in it on Friday. Jumping in on after I basically would do Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So after the game, I'll sleep in the chamber for like 2 or 3 hours. After Wednesday practice, I'll jump in the chamber for like an hour or two. And on Friday, before we leave to travel on Saturday or before, the next game, I would jump in the hyperbaric chamber and I'd sleep in it for another, couple hours. You're not supposed to stay that long in it, but it does help for the body to recover from, and it kind of filters the oxygen and in your blood. So, you do get kind of a rejuvenation from it, but the brain's a little bit different. I don't think that the results are specifically connected to the brain. The brain is not an organ that is going to benefit that much from something like hyperbaric therapy. But I think that right there on this is a good spot to kind of stop, because now, today, hit the news wire that the NFL is going to halt race norming and review black claims in $1 billion concussion settlement. And this is huge. This is really huge for the players. This is huge for the guys who have already gone through this process. I have teammates who have gone through this process and had been denied. And I had guys who had also been through the process just to get their basic line of duty benefits, which is the same thing as this, except it's more all-encompassing. It's more about the whole body, the accumulative amount of damage that you have in your joints, in your bones, all of these different parts of your body that are affected by it. They set you up, they set you up with a point system, and they actually give you a rating in that point system. And depending on what your rating is, you get, X amount of dollars each month as a benefit. So really, there are some decent enough benefit programs in the NFL for players post-career, but the ones that matter the most are not nearly up to snuff. The healthcare is not up to snuff. They only give it to you for 5 years. Then you got to buy your own, and it's far less comprehensive as theirs what the NFL is, because the NFL's post-career insurance covers everything 100%. You don't pay for anything. You don't pay for anything. It's pretty much, it's free. I mean, you'll pay, if I had to get let's say a $300 prescription, like it would end up being like $20. So there's actually like a benefit there. Like you're not paying out the ass. But as far as the race norming, the NFL is going to halt that and review black claims. I'm going to go through this article, try and get through it quickly here, but I'll give you my thoughts as we go. The NFL on Wednesday pledged to halt the use of race norming, which assumed black players started out with lower cognitive functioning. I mean, that is just, where does the notion that two humans who are the same but have different pigmentation, where's the notion that one starts off just normally dumber than the other? Where does that come from? That's where I would love to know where that comes from. Okay. NFL on Wednesday pledged to halt the use of race norming, which assumed black players started out with lower cognitive functioning in the $1 billion settlement of brain injury claims and to review past scores for any potential race bias. They'll find a lot. The practice had made it harder for black players to show a deficit in quality for an award. The standards were designed in medicine in the 1990s in hopes of offering more appropriate treatment to dementia patients, but critics faulted the way they were used to assess legal damages in the NFL case. Wednesday's announcement comes after a pair of black players filed a civil lawsuit over the practice. Medical experts raised concerns, and a group of NFL families last month dropped 50,000 petitions at the federal courthouse in Philadelphia, where the lawsuit had been thrown out by the judge overseeing the settlement. And, that just kind of goes to show how the system is really fucked when it comes to, dealing with these problems that are caused by entertainment sports services. Like, football is an entertainment business. It's sport. If you go across the board, and I really, man, having known a number of NBA players and having had a cousin who was 6th overall pick in 2006, it's amazing to me how well, when you compare all of these sports leagues, the only one that actually does right by their players when it comes to their post-career benefits and, just overall quality of life, the NBA does better than everybody, but like everybody combined. The NBA really is the best. I'm friends with Jason Terry. Jason Terry me and him have talked about it numerous times, and he laughs at the NFL's system. He says, yeah, y'all, they don't give a fuck about y'all. That's basically what he says. Because the NBA has lifetime health care. Lifetime. For their players. And they have a number of different, really good investment, packages for players in their careers. The NFL has none of that. We don't even have those. We have one program. But everything else is just third-party shit. It's different. But it doesn't really add anything to that. It doesn't really do anything. Your 401k is your 401k, and then you have another investment program, but the NBA has multiple, and they have these just litany of different benefits that they get for the player and the player's family. So the family's taken care of on top of that too. How can they do that when they don't make nearly the money that the NFL makes? You know what I mean? And their contracts are a lot bigger for their players. So how is the most popular sport in the country, being the NFL, have such a bad, inconsistent, and racially biased post-career quality of life programs? It's absolutely mind-boggling. and when they brought the case to court, it was thrown out by the judge who was looking out for the NFL. You know what I mean? You can't even have a redress to the actual system of government that is supposed to be holding these settlements up to a standard that makes it equal for everybody who participates to try and be treated fairly. They literally threw out the lawsuit that said, hey, this is what they're doing. It makes it unfair. Help us out. No. That's what they do every time. No. Senior U.S. District Judge Anita B. Brody later took the unusual step of asking for a report on the issue. Black retirees hope it will include a breakdown of the nearly $800 million in payouts so far by race. They fear the data will never come to light. Words are cheap. Let's see what they do, said former Washington running back Ken Jenkins, whose wife Amy Lewis led the petition drive on behalf of NFL friends struggling with cognitive problems. Jenkins, an insurance executive, has so far not had such problems. According to the NFL, a panel of neuropsychologists formed recently to propose a new testing regimen to the court includes 2 female and 3 black doctors. The replacement norms will be applied prospectively and retrospectively for those players who otherwise would have qualified for an award, but for the application of race-based norms, the NFL said in a statement issued Wednesday by spokesman Brian McCarthy. Lead players lawyer Christopher Seeger, who negotiated the 2013 contract with the NFL, said earlier this year that he had not seen any evidence of racial bias in the administration of the settlement fund. He amended those remarks Wednesday, apologizing for any pain the program has caused. Okay, see, this is where motherfuckers be getting themselves in trouble. He's the one, this guy, Christopher Seeger, he's the guy who actually set up this entire deal. And he said he hadn't seen any evidence of racial bias. That was how it started. And now how it's going is, I'm sorry for the pain this episode has caused black former players and their families. Ultimately, this settlement only works if former players believe in it. And my goal is to regain their trust and ensure the NFL is fully held to account. Yeah, I'm going to blame the NFL because I set up the deal and I knew exactly how they were going to be doing these things, and I said nothing. And when I was asked, I said there was no evidence of any such things going on. But then the NFL came out and said, yes, we've been doing that. Well, cover blown. The NFL noted that the norms were developed in medicine to stop bias in testing, not perpetuate it. Yes, we see how that works. Both Seeger and the NFL say practices were never mandatory, but was left up to the discretion of doctors taking part in the program. However, the NFL appealed some claims filed by black players if their scores were not adjusted for race. Look at the hypocrisy in the talking. Look at the literal double talk that we have going on here. This is just like, this is mind-boggling. I mean, it says here, the NFL noted that the norms were developed in medicine to stop bias in testing, not perpetuate it. They said the practice was never mandatory, but was left up to the discretion of doctors taking part in the program. However, the NFL appealed some claims filed by black players if their scores weren't adjusted for race. So, this does not square shit. This does not square with this. It doesn't square. You literally said this, it was developed not to stop bias, not perpetuate it. I didn't see any evidence of any bias in any of these studies. But we did definitely appeal some motherfuckers getting paid because they didn't put in the race bias stuff in there. So we ain't got to appeal that. We ain't trying to give you no more money. I mean, look, and I don't want to get preachy in here. I really don't want to get preachy. And I don't want to tell people, I'm not trying to blame anybody in particular, because to me, it's not blaming someone. It's that the system itself and the NFL is the NFL is the biggest sports entity on the planet. Maybe the biggest in the world. I know they make more money than everybody in the world as far as sports goes. But when you hear people talk about the system, when you hear people talk about it's baked in the system, when you hear people talk about that, this is what it is. This is exactly what they're talking about. When they talk about it's baked in our justice system, it's baked into our real estate system, it's baked into fill in the blank system, the institutions, it's baked into it. The NFL is an institution and a major part of the U.S. economy. It is a major part of the U.S. economy. There'll be problems for every city that an NFL team is in if the NFL ceased to exist tomorrow. Big problems. It's baked into their system. And when you ask them more than one question on it, they can't hide it. When you ask them more than one question on it, it shows that it's baked in because they have to dance around themselves to be able to actually respond. The NFL came out, and if I go back to this, shit. Let me see. If I go back to this, let me show you guys, because I've seen this video. Let me show you guys exactly what the fuck they said when they were asked about this.
Says they've suffered some sort of head injury as a result of playing on the field, they go see a neuropsychologist. And that neuropsychologist evaluates their claim, makes a recommendation to a claims administrator, and then that administrator decides whether or not they're entitled to compensation or not. The NFL can appeal that decision. The way this works is if a player goes to see a neuropsychologist, if that's a black player, the neuropsychologist, according to the NFL, has the option of using race as sort of a factor in deciding it. Essentially saying that before they even started playing football, they had a lower cognitive level than white players. And so, in a way, they have a greater degree that they have to prove to show that they're entitled to compensation.
That's not even what I wanted y'all to hear, but it's just ridiculous hearing it. There is a part here where the NFL's actually asked. Here we go. The NFL's asked, and they literally say some bullshit. I mean, it's crazy.
Emails exclusively obtained by ABC News appear to show multiple clinicians agreeing with that assessment. Several neuropsychologists who work with the NFL privately discussing the lawsuit, saying they feel that factoring for race was all but required under the program. One saying if they didn't use the racial norms, there would be multiple inquiries levied at them. Another saying their required reliance on racial norms, bottom line, do discriminate against black players. In a statement to ABC News, the NFL calls the lawsuit entirely misguided.
So just think about this, because this was in February. We are now in May. People have short memories in this 24-hour news cycle. This is what they said, 3 months ago?
The league says that the race norming, part of what they call demographic correction, is recommended but not required. And the concussion settlement was agreed to by all parties with the assistance of expert neuropsychological clinicians. And it relies on widely accepted and long-established testing and scoring methods.
When you hear the NFL...
And that, to me, is it's such disingenuous, like purposefully disingenuous bullshit, because they say, well, you agreed to it, after they say this is completely misguided. This is, they're giving you all of this filler talk. This is called a word salad. This was a word salad. It's all based on demographic correction, not required, or not recommended, but not required. It's agreed to by all parties with the assistance of expert psychological clinicians. It's widely accepted, long established. Let's not forget here, people. It's widely accepted and it's long established stuff here. This is not us being racist. But think about this for a second. In February, this is everything that they said. And when you fast forward to June, all of those lies begin to unravel. All of it begins to unravel. They sit here and say that it's all recommended, but it's not required. Yet they appealed some claims filed by black players if their scores weren't adjusted for race. So, it's like, do as I, it's monkey see, monkey do, but do as I say, not as I do. So they want you to believe what they're saying, but when you look right behind what they're saying, they literally are doing the 180-degree polar opposite. They're doing the opposite. And that's why I see it across the board in sports all the time. I see it across the board. These sports conglomerates do not give a fuck about the players' well-being once they're no longer useful. They don't care, and they will do anything they can to minimize the effect on their bottom line by these players who are no longer playing, and they will try to get them out of the hair of that league officially and legally as soon as possible. They don't want to have a life. They don't want to be stuck to players' life for their life. They don't want that. They don't want to have to deal with players who played 20 years ago. They don't want that. That's annoying to them. That costs more money for them. They don't want to deal with that, even though those players who played 20 years ago are the reason why your league is where it is now. Those guys who played 30 years ago are the reason why your league is where it is now. Those guys who played 50 years ago are the reason why your league is where it is now. That's why these CBAs are so important. That's why it's important for every sport. Every sport, if the players really give a damn about their rights and about their power and about what they can actually set their lives to be more comfortable for when they're done playing, this is the shit that you got to fucking be ready to sit and fight for, because that's what whenever they give you money with one hand, they're taking money away with the other. In 2 years, the NFL's former players, all who are vested in their retirement programs, will get their benefits cut by 25% so that they can get back some of the money that they gave the players in the new CBA. Who's paying for it? We are. So for me, it does make my blood boil a little bit, because the NFLPA is not a serious association. It's not. It's a corrupt, fucking under the table, money paying, money laundering, fucking borderline criminal enterprise in my eyes. Because when I called the NFL, last time I called the NFLPA, I got the answering machine, and it was on a fucking Monday, and it wasn't a holiday. They don't answer their phone for their own players. I tried to get a hold of a lady in the NFLPA one time last year to get some information, and I swear to you, 1 week straight of calling, and I never talked to this lady. And she's supposed to be the head of one of the departments. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, again, you look at everything that's set up, and it's about the money, and it's about controlling things. They don't give a fuck about what your life situation is. They don't care what your mental situation is. We're trying to get their money and get moving. And the double talk and the hypocrisy of all of these things we see on TV, where you see Roger Goodell sitting on a chair talking about, we think Black Lives Matter. Well, I mean, come on, man. We know you ain't. We know you don't give a fuck about black lives at all, because the ones who help build your league are getting denied the benefits that they actually have a right to, because you're using a roundabout way to move the goalpost literally on them. But I digress. Let me get back to this article. If it wasn't for the wives who were infuriated by all the red tape involved, it never would have come to be, Jenkins said of the attention being paid to the issue 3 years after lawyers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, for former Pittsburgh Steelers Kevin Henry and Najee Davenport said they first raised it. The binary race norms, when they're used in the testing, assume that black patients start with worse cognitive functioning than whites and other non-blacks. I mean, shit, they put us at the bottom of the motherfucking bottom. That makes it harder for them to show a deficit and qualify for an award. I wonder how they square that with somebody who went to college, got a degree. Let's say you have a black player who went to college and got a degree in, let's say, bioengineering. So you're telling me that he actually cognitively started off dumber, even though this guy has an actual track record of excellence in terms of their functioning of the brain when it comes to all kinds of academics, yet somehow their cognitive abilities start off worse than their white counterparts. And again, this is not to make any white athlete feel bad, because it ain't on you. It's not you. It's the motherfucker who's above both of us who's doing it. That's the one. So it just blows my mind that they think somehow that could be an actual thing, that we just born dumber and less sharp. Henry and Davenport, for instance, were denied awards but would have qualified had they been white, according to their lawsuit, which Brody dismissed in March, calling it an improper collateral attack on the settlement. What? What? The judge dismissed the case, saying it was an improper collateral attack on the settlement. Does that make any sense to anybody? That sounds like fucking propaganda if I've ever heard it, coming from a judge. A collateral attack? Dude, the fucking data is right there. More than 2,000 NFL retirees have filed dementia claims, but fewer than 600 have received awards, according to the most recent report. More than half of NFL retirees are black, of course, according to the lawyers in the litigation. The awards so far have averaged $516,000 for the 379 players with early stage dementia and more than $715,000 for the 207 players with moderate dementia. Retirees can also seek payouts for Alzheimer's disease and a few other diagnoses. The settlement ended thousands of lawsuits that accused the NFL of long hiding what it knew about the link between concussions and traumatic brain injury. I think that really says it all. I mean, the NFL has played this game like they didn't know what's going on, and we all know that there's no way that they don't know what's going on. It's all a facade. It's all them masquerading to give a fuck when we know that they don't care. They don't care. They just don't. And again, that's where for me, in the way that I see things in life, when you know what the actual playing what the rules are, when you understand what the rules are, and when you see that the rules are slanted, well then, the moment you get an opportunity where the slant goes your way, you should fucking go after them with no mercy. And that's why now you're seeing players who are making decisions that actually are made to benefit specifically them over anything that has to do with a franchise. That's why, to a certain extent, I don't care about loyalty to franchises by any player in any sport. You shouldn't have any loyalty to a franchise whatsoever. Because the moment that they have the advantage, they will fuck you over relentlessly. We've seen it so many times. So when the player gets that benefit, when the player gets that one up on the franchise, crush the franchise until they give you exactly what you need. Aaron Rodgers, give him motherfucking hell. Kyrie Irving, give him hell. Because they have no loyalty to you. They can say whatever they want, but the moment you go, the moment you drip under that level that they have set, that bar they have set for even at 1 millimeter, you go under that bar, they will be relentless. They'll take the money. They'll do everything they can to save as much money off of you and to leave you holding an emptier bag than when you got there, than what you should have had when you left. The reason why they're not trading guys like Julio until after June 1st, the reason why they're not releasing guys until after June 1st is so they don't have to pay you. So they don't got no loyalty. They don't want to say thank you for your service. Here, you can have that bonus we were going to give you, and then we'll let you go and, good luck for the rest of your career. No, we're going to wait till June 1st so we can trade your ass on June 2nd. We ain't got to pay a dime or anything that you got that we promised you when we gave you this contract. And you can go sit your ass down and play somewhere else and let them handle the bag. We don't want that no more. They do whatever they can for their ass, so why not do what you can for yours? That's how I feel it should be. Because if y'all are gonna play the game in a slanted way, then well shit, we just gonna play the game how it goes then. If it's slanted, as soon as that pendulum swings and I got the slant facing upward for me, I'm going after y'all with everything I got. So what? The fans might get mad, so what? If you knew what they're really doing and how they're really looking at this shit when it comes to us as players, then you'll be wanting us to play this game. Because don't forget, those motherfuckers are billionaires. Those motherfuckers are making billions. They don't even got to pay for the whole stadium they got. You paying for half the stadium. And they charging you $300 to come in and watch the game. And they charging you $30 for a drink. So why you want us to be loyal to them when they ain't even loyal to you as a fan? Play the game how it goes. Play the game how it goes. Don't let them play that shit and then put up all this window dressing to say, oh, the years, all the great seasons, this and that. But at the end of the day, they cut your ass and they fucking kept you from getting bonuses that you were a week away from or a day away from. Shit. So what? Don't have no loyalty. When you get a chance to go to a different team and you can get way more money and them two teams are bidding for you, that's when the slant's on your side. You make them pay out their ass. Because they winning on every level against everybody. So get your wins when you can. Because they ain't going to give you many opportunities to get them. Few and far between. That's why a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he knows he can make something happen. Or at the end of the day, he knows he can just say, fuck it, I retire and go host fucking Jeopardy for a year, make twice the money he made playing football in that season, and then come back and play for another team once his contract is up. Or back them into a corner where they got to put somebody or they got to trade with somebody or they're going to be in cap hell. That's how you get them. Sometimes it takes longer, but that's how you get them. Mexican Iron Man, $9.99. First super chat of the day. Appreciate you, brother. He said, damn, this is sad and disgusting to hear. Hell, I'm disappointed to learn there was even some kind of window and current guys aren't covered. Shake my head, what the hell? Yeah, I found that out. I had my agent actually look into it. Right after I retired, because I was like, shoot, I mean, we all got it. We all gonna have CTE, so might as well figure out what I can get. And they told me because I actually played in the preseason with the Cowboys, I'm ineligible. That I would have had to have retired like 6 months before, or 4 or 5 months before that, to be eligible to be in it. And I'm like, but I'm still playing football. What do you mean? Like, I still played football 7 years. What do you mean? Like, I should be able to get this. I should. No. It's like, nah, motherfucker. You can't even apply for this shit. And you were offensive lineman who got 100 starts 4 seasons straight without missing a game. How many headshots how many times did my head smack up against a defensive lineman's head right across from me in those 100 games? How many times did that happen in the practice of those 100 games? Shit, you talking about maybe hundreds of thousands of head contacts. Maybe. Dating back 7 years, just as a pro. In college, I really was using my head. So shit, add another 20 or 30,000 on top of that. it gets ginormous, the amount of potential damage that you could be causing yourself just playing football, whether it be practice, whether it be in a game. So, you know, it's these kind of things are imperative. These kind of things are things that we need to have as players to protect us and to protect our families, the people who depend on us. Like, there's got to be some kind of reckoning there. The NFL, you know, this is the first step for it. The NFL comes out and they finally admit that they're race norming and stop trying to fucking play games and trying to beat around the bush. And they actually call to a halt to it. If it happens, if it really happens, hey, we all have to wait and see, because they said that it was all mischaracterized and misguided before. And they said it was all stuff we agreed to, and that it was all fucking, you know, Humpty-Dory and long trusted processes. And we all knew that was bullshit when they said it then. Well, now they come out and acknowledge, yeah, we was bullshitting, and we're gonna do the right thing. But don't know if I can believe that now. Don't know if I can believe that. So, with all that being said, you know, I'm going to hop off this soapbox and we're going to jump into, real quickly, because I got to cut this one. This stream's going to get cut short just a little, ever so slightly today, because I got a couple other things I got to do. I'm going to be jumping on with urinating tree and dumpster fire, 5-point vids. We're going to be doing Among Us stream. That's going to be coming up here in just literally a few minutes. Going to be doing that with Dodger Zion. So make sure you guys go and check us out when we do that. But this next story I thought was interesting because I did a video on this. This is a little bit different. A little bit different. You know, I don't always cover horse racing. I mean, come on. What do I know about it? But it's a Kentucky Derby. So I did a video on this about a month ago. Talking about the positive drug test from the Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit. And in that video, I talked about how things would actually play out. Whoops. What did I do that for? How things would actually play out after that positive drug test, because what happens after you fail a test is they take the B sample and they go test the B sample to figure out if it's going to be, something that is confirmed. And of course, as we all expected, from Bob Baffert, who went on TV and talked about how it was a smear campaign against him and how he was being ostracized and targeted, and that somehow some contaminated hay got thrown in to the horse's food bin from urine from another guy who worked for him, and it got into the horse's system, and that's why the horse failed for an anti-inflammatory. That, you know, when you take those shots of those anti-inflammatory shots, basically you don't feel pain or fatigue for a certain period of time, because those inflammation sensory glands in your body are blocked from actually sending a signal to the joints, to the muscles, so they don't feel fatigued. It's a two-edged, it's a double-sided sword, because you can actually end up injuring yourself pretty severely if you're pushing things way too far and you wouldn't even really know it. But it says here, Churchill Downs suspended the Colts Hall of Fame trainer Bob Baffert for 2 years, and the Colt faces disqualification as the Derby winner. So they're going to disqualify this horse from the Kentucky Derby, which I think is, I think it's a shame, because the horse, it ain't the horse's fault that these motherfuckers decided they was going to shoot him up. And, and look, I mean, maybe a lot of horses are being juiced up on, I don't know. I don't know that there's necessarily a trend of this going on. But hell, when they take their piss tests, they pass them. So as far as we know, it ain't happening with them. But let's go briefly through this. Says here, Medina Spirit's positive drug test after the Kentucky Derby has been confirmed, setting the stage for the colt trained by Bob Baffert to be the second horse in the 147-year history of the race to be disqualified as its winner because of a failed drug test. Citing the positive test, Churchill Downs on Wednesday immediately suspended Baffert, a 7-time winner of the Kentucky Derby and the most recognizable figure in the sport, from entering horses at the racetrack at Louisville, Kentucky for 2 years. So he can't even race in the biggest, baddest horse race of the year for 2 years. And, you know, it's funny. I watched the race itself, and that horse was moving. It was getting it, right? But if you watch the next race, when another horse actually won, there was a big difference in how Medina Spirit was running in the race, in the race after the Kentucky Derby. It did not look the same. That horse was holding on to first place, and you just saw it begin to just die off. And you just seen the other horse just, I mean, that mug took off, gone on his ass. But, you know, that's the difference. That's why when they find out you've been juicing, they hit you hard, because you have a big advantage when you do that. Citing the positive test, 2 years. That means no horse trained by Baffert or his stable can race in the Derby in 2022 and 2023. Reckless practices and substance violations that jeopardize the safety of our equine and human athletes, or compromise the integrity of our sport are not acceptable. Bill Casterton, Chief Executive Officer or Executive of Churchill Downs, said on Wednesday, Mr. Baffert's record of testing failures threatens public confidence in thoroughbred racing and the reputation of the Kentucky Derby. I think that's right. He is actually fucking up their reputation, because if all these horses that keep juicing keep winning, then it makes them look bad. It really does make them look bad. It's like it's the legitimacy of the sport is going to fall off of a cliff. Says here, Clark Brewster, a lawyer who represents Medina Spirit's owner, Adam Zidane, said a laboratory at the University of California, Davis tested a second post-race sample from the Derby. The test confirmed the presence at a prohibited level of the drug betamethasone, a corticosteroid that is injected into joints to reduce pain and swelling. Baffert chose the lab where the sample was tested. So you can't even hate, because they let you choose where you wanted this second test to go. You choose where you want us to see if this shit doped up again. Yeah. They got him. We got him. In a text, however, Brewster said the laboratory did not test the blood or urine samples for the presence of the other compounds, which could prove the trace positive came from an inadvertent or materially inconsequential contamination sourced from a topical ointment used to treat Medina Spirit for a skin lesion on his hip. Nobody want to hear all that shit. Failed. It failed. Shut up. Immediately after announcing Medina Spirit's positive test on May 9th, Baffert gave a series of television and radio interviews in which he floated various theories about how the colt tested positive for betamethasone. He blamed cancel culture for the controversy and said racing officials were out to get him. Look, you know, the only thing that really annoys me is when people start trying to blame everything on one blanket, like, I guess, villain or boogeyman or whatever it may be. Come on, dude. Cancel culture is why your horse failed the piss test? Nah. You can't be saying that. You're an idiot if you say that. Woo! Baffert soon reversed himself, however, and acknowledged treating Medina Spirit for a rash with an antifungal ointment called Automax, which, to Baffert's professed surprise, contains betamethasone. No one cares. No one fucking cares. You know what they tell us? You know what they would tell us when you fail a piss test and you try to start giving excuses and you just start, this is what happened. I was in the car with the homies. The windows was up. Everybody was lighting up. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But then I got a little bit high, so I got out the car, and that's what happened. I swear to God, I didn't smoke nothing. I swear. They be like, so? They be like, if you read, then you would know that at the bottom of this here contract, it says you are responsible for whatever is in your body. It does not matter the circumstances. It doesn't matter if you know or not. What we find, you are responsible for. Because regardless as if you knew or not, you put it in your body without knowing, which is the first mistake. Second mistake, we found it. So now you got to pay. And that's just how it is. That's just how it goes. So I really have no real sympathy for this guy, Bob Baffert. I think he's getting exactly what he deserves, and he's probably getting off a little bit easier than he should. I would be pressed to say they should probably check out other horses that he's had racing in the past five years or so and see what their urine samples come up to show, because I'm sure some of them they keep stored. Not sure how long, probably not 5 years, but at least one or two. But that is that with Medina's Spirit. That was just a bad set of decisions by the owner of that horse racing stable from Bob Baffert. So with all that being said, guys, I got to jump off of here. I got a live stream with Dodger of Zion, Urinating Tree, 5 Points videos, The Dumpster Fire, and more. We're going to be playing Among Us. So make sure you check out on Twitter, Dodger of Zion, and see if she has posted anything about it, or I've retweeted a few things about it, so make sure you check that out. But I am gonna have to jump off of here. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for being in here. You guys have been great. I'm sorry I missed yesterday, but I'm really, really glad that you guys were here today, showing support, showing love. You guys have been awesome. Tomorrow we'll be back at the same time as usual, and we will get to talking about the bigger or biggest stories, or whatever stories I feel like talking about on the live stream. So with all that being said, I bid everyone adieu, and I will catch you all on the next one.